Power on.
Real-time Sovryn is go.
Ooh, the Golden Stallion, the man of tomorrow, Savzu, the rated R radio star, here with you and not alone for this real-time Sovryn, baby. Of course, I am being joined by none other than, look, there's like 4 camera angles going on here, but everybody's just going to be looking at the top left. I mean, that's pretty much it. Because I don't know how this camera gets all that in there. Anyway, amazing. Of course, I'm being joined by the amazing, lovely, stunning, brilliant, my wife, Mrs. Ellen Sovryn.
Thank you. Talos be with you.
Talos be with you. Wow. Starting right off with some Skyrim. Okay. Talos is illegal around here, you know. He's banned.
I suppose by the Thalmor.
Well, I'm pretty sure this studio falls under the Eldmari Dominion, so, you know.
Oh, that's right. You're an Imperial.
Anyway.
Just kidding.
Please, it's not like, what's his name? It's not like Ulfric Stormcloak isn't an Imperial.
Oh, that's true. He's an Imperial puppet.
See? I bet there's a ton of people listening to this who've played Skyrim for many hours and don't realize that. What do you think?
I think that there's a lot of information in Skyrim, like in the books specifically.
The books within the game.
Yes, the books within the game. If you take the time to read them, you learn so much about the lore of Skyrim. And one thing that I learned on my most recent playthrough was that he actually committed atrocities that I shan't name, but it made me not want to be a Stormcloak after that.
He's a fucking racist.
Oh, yeah, he's horrible.
Yeah,
He's committed many murders of not just the men, but the women and the children,
Wow,
too.
he went full Anakin. Okay.
That's right. In his quest for power.
Nice.
And it also inspired me with an idea that I have shared with my friend, who is also like a good friend of yours.
Yep.
Both of us. We have kind of talked about this, and I want to do it really soon in the future. I'm like gearing up to do it, getting
this
all
is a
the
project.
software and the hardware.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, now that we have this fancy schmancy studio.
I know, it's so fancy.
Yeah, why just do my show? Let's do all kinds of shit.
Exactly. Like with all of this hardware here, I would like to also start putting out my own content. And one of the things that I was feeling inspired by my most recent Skyrim playthrough to do was to actually read all of the books that are in the game, finally.
That's insane.
But, like, I want to share it with other people, too, because this is something that, like, if you're actually playing the game Skyrim, you have to physically go into certain locations and find these books, and some of them are really rare.
Right.
So, like, I don't think I've even read all of the books that are in the game.
Somebody's got to have them all posted. I mean, not in audio form, but somebody has to have them posted online. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
That's my hope, anyway. So my quest is to narrate these books and to bring them to you in video form.
That is amazing. That is amazing. I am sure everybody just got super excited about this.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Oh, I am. I mean, like, I'll listen to the hell out of that. I mean, I've read, you know, over the years, I mean, I kind of grew up as the Elder Scrolls series was being developed, you know. I mean, I played Daggerfall, Morrowind, you know, the whole thing.
Very cool.
Oblivion, of course. And there's been novels, you know, and those novels also, boy, need audiobooks versions of those someday. I don't think they're available like on Audible or anywhere else for that matter.
Sure.
But like, there's just so much history and lore, like you said, and it's good stuff. Like, it's good writing. I'm actually,
Very good.
Yeah, I'm really scared with like whenever Elder Scrolls 6 ever actually comes out. And folks, we got tons of stuff we're going to talk about. Things you will not expect. But anyway, we're just opening this baby up. But with Elder Scrolls 6, I'm really worried that they're just going to use generative AI to make up everything. As to where...
That worries me too.
Yeah. As to where, you know, Skyrim has been out for over 10 years, 15 years, maybe. Now?
Oh God, don't remind me. It's been a while.
You're right.
Maybe 12 years.
Sure. Well, I mean, in fact, it might be the American game that Famitsu gave a perfect 40 to a perfect score. The only one, I think.
As it deserves.
Yeah, right. But I mean, it's just that great of a game. And yeah, I think this is such a beautiful idea because this is
Thank
great human written material, mythos, mythology, lore, as that word seems to be growing in popularity, and which is really cool. So I love the idea. And I mean, you're going to do video. People get to see you read this.
Yeah.
You think? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Dressed
that's
like
the plan.
this?
Not exactly.
Oh,
maybe,
a little
maybe
less?
a little different. I might get into character more.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, that's going to
We'll
be
see.
white hot. Wow. That's going to be huge. Wow. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Of course, my character in the first playthrough that I did was a wood elf named Willow.
Right. You going to do body paint?
Well, we'll see. Perchance.
Yeah, that's amazing. Oh man. Okay, so this is really cool. And if before anybody asks, now I talked about this on a recent Real-Time Sovryn. You and I, so we're recording, this is just the beginning of March 2025, and February. I mean, we have just been like sick all February. Not like sick in the head, but I mean, we've been that too. But
We're always sick in that regard.
yeah, we're always sick like that. But in the things we do in public. But we were not feeling well. You weren't feeling well. You don't have to go into details, on some of it, but yeah, it's been a rough month.
It has, yeah, and unfortunately, it kept us from putting out any sort of content.
Right.
And I apologize for that because
You don't have to apologize.
Like, I'm the one that goes to work in an on-site location where there's hundreds of other people, and I probably, brought some sort of disease home. So sorry about that. I know that, like, you've been pretty good about putting out regular content.
Oh.
Like every few days, at least once a week.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, whatever we caught, it was really intense.
It was bad.
And it took you out for 2 weeks pretty much.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, I mean, oh man, the headaches. I don't know why mine manifested as headaches, but they were horrible.
Yeah.
Couldn't look at anything. It was so bad.
Headaches, fatigue,
Yep.
coughing, a lot of nose blows.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. So yeah, February was an ugly one, but we'll be picking it right back up. So
I know we weren't the only ones. There's tons of people across the country right now that are just have been sick for like the last month.
Yeah. No, even other podcasters like that I follow, like they're all like, yeah, sorry, we haven't posted anything in like 3-4 weeks and we've just been sick, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I got you. So anyway, with that said, something I'm really sick of, unless you wanted to put more out on that.
Oh, no. I'm just glad that we're back in the saddle again.
Yes, me too. And you are looking absolutely ravishing.
I'm ready to ride.
I can tell, and you will. But so why do I even have these headphones in? I don't need these in right now. It's not like I need to do monitoring. So, okay. There's a couple things I want to talk about at least. Who knows what else we'll end up talking about. But honestly, just to get back warmed up, like you say, in the saddle.
Like the oceans.
Yes.
Sorry, I saw your hat. The New England Aquarium.
I'll zoom
It
in
reminded me of the
there you go. Anyway.
global warming.
So, okay, yeah. And also, folks, yes, there is now a fourth camera. I actually did add a fourth camera to this, and it's one where the guest who's sitting in the hot seat, it's only hot because Ellen's in it, but that sitting in the hot seat can actually see themselves, so you can check yourself and whatever. And so studio just keeps on growing, keeps on getting crazier. Okay, so what I want to talk about, and this is something, like, I'm so glad you're here. Okay. Now
Thank
I could
you.
go. Yeah. I mean, that's just a general statement. Like,
No, I'm
I
glad
don't really
to
have
be here too.
You're right.
I'm glad you're here, Brian.
Thank you. Not everybody is, but I'm,
Satan bless them.
yes, Satan bless them. Well said. So, okay. And we're going to get into a movie review because later I want to talk about Nosferatu. All right. We watched this. Whoa. If you saw on camera 4, holy cow. The look on your face, Alan, that was...
Yeah, we watched it. I
Yeah.
mean, we've watched actually multiple versions of Nosferatu.
It's true. We'll get to those. So stay tuned for that. But before we get into that, I'm glad you're here because you have a history. We're going to talk a little music here. You have a history that I think goes well with our subject.
You mean My history of doing drugs?
Well, well, yeah. I mean, that's great too. But I mean, your history with butt rock. But
oh, yes. Yeah, okay.
Well, and also you're like, I mean, here's the other fortunate thing is because it could be argued that, like, I mean, we're both technically millennials. Like, I'm just at the edge. I guess I'm more what they call a zennial, born in 81. And so, but you could kind of say we come from two different generations.
Yeah, yeah. Like I'm kind of closer to the Gen Z side of millennial.
Right.
But yes, we are both millennials.
Yeah. So it's fortunate for that. But also you're a longtime listener of the show. And so you can verify what I'm and so you can verify what I'm about to say. And you've known me better than anyone else alive, for many, many years now. And so all of this can basically be verified because, one of my peeves, and this is maybe one of these things, I don't know what trauma it comes out of or what that I have to get over. I absolutely hate being considered a hipster, and I hate, or I hate being called like somehow, like riding the bandwagon, some copycat, something like that. Okay. Now, none of these things really run into an issue until suddenly something that I have loved for a really long time suddenly becomes very popular or becomes popular again. And this leads to a tremendous amount of frustration within me. Not because I'm a hipster. I just know what's good and what's not. Okay. Like, I mean, I have an understanding of, and I really like, I feel this way. I'm not saying that everything I like is great because I know that's not true, and that's okay.
Some of it's pretty corny.
Yeah. Some of it's terrible. Like, Megaforce, but
that's exactly what I was thinking.
Right.
You read my mind.
Yeah. But I'll watch that movie all the time. But, what I do know, I know when something is made to last. I know when something can go the distance. I know when something has like staying power. I know when something is like a cultural, almost a cultural touchstone. Okay. Like even when I was a little kid, like, yes, Star Trek was popular, but it wasn't that popular. And the Next Generation did not come out yet to become the juggernaut that it would be, on TV. Okay. And so I don't have to get in whatever. We can skip all that. I'm just making my point of where a lot of my frustration comes out of this. And my latest frustration as far as this goes is a band. And that band... A band. And that band is Creed. Creed.
Yeah, a band you've loved for a long time.
Exactly. Thank you. Somehow, since 2023, and before people think, it's just like, somehow it's what the algorithm's feeding me. No. No. Since like 2023, there has been this weird ass resurgence of Creed. Now I say it's a resurgence because, and this is what I want you to verify for me, Ellen. I mean, I can speak from my own history. I know how much people hated this band, just like Nickelback. Okay. Like I know how out of favor, they have been. I know that when I've talked about on my show, that Creed is an incredible band. I got the messages. I got the Facebook replies back in the day. I got the emails. I got the whole thing, where, oh my, what are you talking about? Creed sucks. And like, I'd have to say, no, go listen to their third album, start from track 1, and they're going to kick your ass. Most people that actually took me up on that agreed. But there is a weird, Creed is huge right now. They're like Michael Jackson in the 80s right now. It's insane. And I don't understand what the hell's going on. But the one thing I can say for sure, and Ellen, feel free to back me up on this, but the one thing I can say for sure is that not even 5-6 years ago, that was not the case. In fact, it wasn't just not the case. It was the exact fucking opposite. People hated this band. Hated every popular song they ever had, couldn't stand it, would tell you to turn it off if it came on. Like it was, fuck these guys. What's your read on that?
Yeah. I mean, just from my perspective, I remember when I was a child, like around the year 2000, Creed was really popular. And
around the year 2000,
yeah, they were still putting out hits that played on the radio.
Yep.
and television advertisements were selling their like greatest hits lists, and often Creed would be on that list.
Yep. Be like Now Music, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Sure.
Or like top 10 metal songs of the year or whatever. But then they just went dark for a long time. Like they weren't featured in popular culture.
Yeah.
For like a good 10, 15 years at least.
Yeah.
And I think kind of what you said might have been true from my perspective. I remember like all throughout middle and high school, nobody was listening to Creed. But the first time I ever listened to a Creed album all the way through was when I was maybe 14 years old. And I honestly liked it, but like I couldn't talk to anyone about it.
Right.
And then suddenly a couple years ago, everybody's into Creed.
Yeah.
And it's because of their reunion tour.
Yeah. Like, I think there's even more. You're right. There is
you think
like
there's
that.
more?
Oh yeah. But like, so, okay. So you said you heard them around 2000. So this is like when their big album, which is called Human Clay, their second album, hits. Okay.
Yeah. And the image of the CD artwork is
with the guy like.
Yeah, it's just in my brain forever. It's like a vestigial memory of a time and place that I came from, like it's in my psyche.
Right.
Like that is how big they were at the time.
Yeah. So, I mean, part of the reason I think they fell away was they broke up, like they had their 2001 album, which I mentioned earlier, Weathered, phenomenal, like just a heavy kick-ass album, such good stuff in it. And they did come out with another album in 2009. They came out with Full Circle. Not a great album at all.
Yeah,
like,
I don't know that one at all.
No one should. Like there's nothing terribly special in it. So, and I can say that as somebody who like loves the first three albums. Okay. But they broke up, whatever. Scott Stapp was like having orgies with Kid Rock and I don't know. And Creed is like a quasi, maybe not so quasi Christian band. So, that didn't fit very well. I think like their drummer, I think his name was Brian Phillips or something. Their drummer was like a drunkard or something. And and Scott Stapp wanted him out. And there was all kinds of, whatever interband politics that led to them breaking up. And so they kind of fall away. Now, what comes out of that is you get Mark Tremonti, who is this just incredibly prolific and talented metal artist. He makes Alter Bridge, and he brings on Miles Kennedy as the lead singer. And basically, Alter Bridge is just Creed without Scott Stapp. For a lot of people, what the hell does that even mean, right? Like what is Creed without Scott Stapp? And I understand that. Scott Stapp would go on to make a couple of solo albums. He actually made another one recently that was really kick-ass as well. His first solo album, The Great Divide, amazing. Just one of the most like I don't like using the word soul, but it's an album that literally like sings to my soul.
You made me listen to this album.
When
it first came out.
That's the new one. Yeah, Higher Power. That was very good. Yeah, but his first one, which came out around 2003 or 4, something like that, maybe a little later on, but it's a very like that album like hits me like a ton of bricks. Like it's so when I say there are very few albums, I mean I don't know if I could think of 10 that hit me the way that one does. And so very powerful stuff, right? Now, I'm sure most of these supposed Creed fans today probably have no fucking clue, never listened to that album, don't give a shit, whatever. And that's fine. I'm not making like a no true Scotsman argument here or anything along those lines.
Well, you are.
But kind of, I suppose.
That's part of your annoyance, I think, is that you feel like nobody loves these band, the people in the band and the art that they create like you do.
Right. Well, this raises a good point because again, we're on Instagram. I don't know what the hell's happening on TikTok and never want to, but we're on Instagram. And that's when we started noticing this over the past couple of years. It was like, why is everybody sharing all these Creed videos? Like there's something, like they actually love them. And, but I can say this, like they're never sharing like any of their deeper hits. Even stuff that still made it on like a greatest hits album, of which they've put out a couple. They're never playing Bullets. They're never playing Who's Got My Back Now. They're never, there's a lot of songs that are quote unquote hits or like in that range that never get shared. It's always just like, Higher or With Arms Wide Open.
Yeah, just those two, really.
Yeah, really, it is just those two. And so I'm kind of baffled by it. And there's a point I want to get to in all this for everybody out there listening or watching. Okay. Like there is a commentary here. I am just complaining also, but,
yeah, now you all get to hear this complaint. It's not just me listening to you.
I know, because I've been I've been badgering you with this for a while.
A while, yes.
Yeah. So, here's the thing. Like, I still listen to, and I never stopped listening to those albums over the past 20 plus years. Like, I still listen to them. I still listen to Human Clay. I still listen to My Own Prison and Weathered and, and Scott Stapp solo stuff and whatever. Like, and I listen to Tremonti, all of his bands and all of his albums. Listen to Alter Bridge all over the place. Like, I am fucking there. It's great music. Okay. And so in reality, like, in some ways they never even really went away, but regardless, I don't fully understand. And folks, if you think I'm just making this up, there's a link in the show notes from Polestar that's showing the insane numbers that the Creed tour is doing. I mean, it's many, many hundreds of millions of dollars that they're doing. This is some of the biggest stuff. I mean, you can read about it. This is some stuff, numbers that the music industry has never seen before. That's crazy to say in 2025. But it's true. And now what I want to ask you, Ellen. So, I mean, what do you think happened here? Like, how do you think that this happened? That suddenly, like, everybody, because it seems like you agree with me that everybody hated Creed, or at least most people did for a very long time. And now suddenly they're the new hotness. Like, what occurred? What do you have a theory? Any thoughts?
Nostalgia.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that, and I've heard even people who are my coworkers who are of a similar age to me, say that they went to see Creed on one of these recent concerts.
Sure.
But I think a lot of this is being driven by, Gen Z, the younger generation. This is kind of part and parcel of the nostalgia trip that they're taking back to the 90s. Like, they're really getting into like 90s style, 90s pop stars. And Creed was like right, on the edge of that, in the early 2000s, but they were still kind of part of that era. And I think that's something that younger people and, people my age who might even like just kind of barely remember it from being children at that time, they might be wanting to harken back to what they see as kind of a simpler age.
Maybe the peak of civilization?
Maybe just before music became overly complicated. And I think it was, it was a time when the music being made is so different from what pop music is today. Yeah. That it almost comes off as sort of pure in a way. Because it's real music. It's like people making the music. It's not, it's not like just a formula. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that there's something to be said for the it's not just nostalgia, it's also like the style of it. And this kind of annoys me because I can't deny that there might be some truth to the fact that people might be emulating this partly because it's ironic to them. Like, it's funny. It's sort of a bit of a joke. Like, oh, this is so good. It's butt rock, It's like so bad it's good kind of.
Is this like a what is it? Like Weezer covering Toto's Rain in Africa, and people can't believe that was like really a thing, and so and it became ironic. A hit. Yeah.
I hate to say it, but I feel like maybe that's part of it. And
that sucks. That's even worse than what I think.
I hope that people genuinely do like it and they're listening to it and they're like, wow, I've never felt music like this before. I've never heard anything that's like this real of music.
Right.
And I hope that that's really what it's about. But yeah, again, I just think there's some people that are like into it for the wrong reason, maybe. And that's not fair of me to say that there's a right versus a wrong reason to be into something, but like I also feel really strongly about music of that era, like butt rock, if you will, from the early 2000s. And you know, to me, it's good, and it's not just because it's like so bad that it's good. It's real music, and it's something that to me feels passionately written.
Right.
It's something that is real artistry.
Right.
It's not formulaic. It's not AI. It's not loops and synthesizers. It's actually people playing instruments and singing words that came from their heart, from their life experience.
Yeah, let me touch on this for a second, because I think people forget just how big of a deal Scott Stapp was back in the day, back in 99 and so on. Like, he got offered to sing for the Doors, like, you know, because his voice, everything was just felt that it was so, well, to use the term again, so soulful. Like, it was just coming from this really deep place. And I think that guy has, to speak conventionally, some demons that he's dealing with. And so that can kind of lead to that. Okay. But I mean, that's how big of a deal he was, is that he was allowed to touch, kind of hallowed ground in music. But people forget that, like that he was that loved and that like impressive, at the time. It's not a joke. Like if it was just flavor of the month shit, I don't think he'd be getting those kinds of offers,
Yeah. And again, I think another part to this too is the grunginess, I suppose.
Yeah, sure.
It's not grunge music, but it's grungier than a lot of the music that's being made today.
Yeah.
And I think there's a certain style that comes along with that again is just nostalgic and simpler than what we've seen over the last 10 years.
Right. Yeah. No, I hear that. I mean, and it's funny because admittedly a band like Creed usually isn't like in my, it's not in my repertoire. It's not in my, that's usually not in my lineup. But again, everything was so really heartfelt and, and the music was that good. And I give a lot of that credit to Mark Tremonti. I mean, because he's just that great of a writer. I mean, folks, if any of you out there have never like looked at Mark Tremonti's discography, like go take a look, and you're going to be blown away just by how much there is. And then go and listen to it, and you're going to, holy hell, how does one guy do all this? But anyway, okay. Yeah, it was just a lot of the music was just so fucking triumphant. And I get it that it's corny, but it was heartfelt at the same
Powerful.
time. It was sincere.
Yes.
And that's all you need is sincerity. Sincerity is such a big deal for me. And it was there, I mean, like people say, well, like wouldn't Nickelback be like a stone's throw from that? Not really. And I like Nickelback more for its extremes and like just unabashed, like sexuality, and eroticism than anything else. That's why that band lands in my lap.
Yeah. Unfortunately, however, at the same time Creed was coming out with hits, Nickelback also came out with a hit that now haunts them forever.
Oh, Rockstar or Photograph?
Well, both of them.
Yeah, both of them are
Photograph
horrible.
is the one that I see getting made fun of the most.
Yeah.
Even to this day.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about that for a second, because now that's a band that like, it's not just nostalgia for when they were, it's that they just keep writing songs that quote nostalgic shit. And I hate every one of those songs by Nickelback. One of my favorite bands, fucking incredible. So many great songs. But boy, they start playing like Photograph or whatever other, and they do an album now because they feel like they have to, I guess, where it's some stupid, nostalgia. Like, remember when we used to, I don't know, drink out of the water hose or something. and it's so bad.
Yeah.
And I think it kind of speaks to the person that's the problem here, like
the listener.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No. Oh, no. I don't mean the listener of the show. But, look, this statement's not going to shock anybody, especially coming from me, but just most people are stupid. But it's not it's
Ouch.
not just that they're stupid. Like, that's fine to be stupid. Like I don't, whatever. It's all to the earth. I don't give a shit. That's great. The problem is that they're also, this is way too broad a term. I don't like using this, but they're also like followers. Like, they just kind of ride the wave. I guess that's the definition of bandwagon, but like they just ride the wave of whatever's popular. Like, they're permission-based beings in that, okay, once somebody big enough, or there's this like tide that says it's okay to suddenly like Creed now, then they will like Creed. But if there wasn't that tide that said it was okay to like Creed, they hate Creed.
Or would just never listen to it.
Or just never, or never listen to it. And it's a very strange world I think we live in right now, because the tastemakers are not the people in the music industry. The tastemakers are not the people in Hollywood. The tastemakers are not like up above. The tastemakers are, I guess, completely algorithmic.
Influencers?
Yeah, like influencers. And, just how somehow that picks up at some point. I mean, and that's a strange thing, because you really can't tell what's actually going to really work and what's not. There's what you try to, there's certainly still what the music industry tries to force down your throat, and what the entertainment industry, I should say, tries to force down your throat. But if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And
like Roman Reigns.
Wow, I was just thinking that's so weird. Okay.
We're on the same wavelength.
Yes, we are. Yeah, like Roman Reigns. And I won't get into a huge diatribe around wrestling, even though wrestling is an important component of Creed's success. Back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like the song Great Divide, that's part of what made me a huge fan of, or not Great Divide. The song off of Weathered, it sounded like Higher. It doesn't matter. Anyway, that song was used for Triple H's return back in 2002. And I mean, that really put that song over, and they used a lot of Creed in WWE at the time. And it didn't hurt either company, or it didn't hurt either group.
Wait, when you were sick a couple of weeks ago, we were watching WWE.
Yep.
But like from back in the day,
we were watching. Yeah.
There was a live performance. Was it Creed?
No, it was Saliva.
Band? Saliva.
It was a WrestleMania 18. Yeah, because they did the theme for it was Ladies and Gentlemen. Another band that I actually very much enjoy. And part of it. Well, see, okay, this raises a great point, because honestly, like almost anything that WWF, or at the time it was still F, that WWE would put out, would like, include in their, in their promos and in their work overall, like I'd give it a shake. Like I'd listen to it, I'd give it a try, and it definitely expanded my musical horizons, because otherwise I would have just kept listening to Motley Crue and Whitesnake and Kiss, and
You still listen to it to this day. Like,
like
Downstate, I think you.
Oh yeah, they're so good. Yeah, it's true.
But another band that just sounds like butt rock, but they're really good.
Yeah, Rev Theory. I mean, there's a bunch out there that like I only experienced through WWE. Anyway, I don't know if that worked for like this permission based class. I don't know if that's what we're going to call them. But maybe it did, maybe. And I mean, I understand the marketing behind like playing these bands, through the venue of wrestling and all. Like, obviously I totally get that. That's been going on since the 80s, with wrestling in particular. But, I'm just overall to kind of bring this back, and I want to ask you some more questions though, Ellen, but like to bring this back, I am so incredibly bothered that something that was so blatantly despised, like Creed, and they were, that no, you get enough people and suddenly everyone is like, okay, no, it's okay to like Creed now. And I think the nostalgia is a good point. I think that's important to bring up, but that's pathetic and disgusting too. So I'm bothered by this.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things wrong with this happening. I mean, number one, like, I don't think most people would listen to a band like Creed if they were just left to their own devices. Like, if they didn't have influencers telling them, like, this is so cool, check it out.
Right.
I don't know that they would have sought it out. I think a lot of people just look at what the social media algorithms show them, or Spotify algorithms.
Right.
And that is kind of unfortunate. Like, sometimes I will utilize those types of algorithms to find things that I like, but there's certain things where, you know, I don't need to go exploring. I've already been exposed, and I knew when I first heard it that it was good, and I stuck with it. And I kept following those artists.
Okay, you brought up Spotify. Let's talk about this for a minute. Because this
Okay, how much time do we have?
Yeah, right. That's a whole episode on its own. Okay, but you brought up Spotify. Okay, and I think a really key thing that I have a hard time accepting, and I want to hear if your experience has been different, you know, in your time on planet Earth. Here's the thing. So what does Spotify cost now a month?
I think it's like $15.99 a month, maybe.
Okay. So about the cost, give or take, of a CD back in the 1990s. Okay. And you get access to all music of all time, more or less.
No, not all music.
Well, not all. I know. Go ahead.
Look, they don't feature all of Devin Townsend's songs. Okay?
Right.
So I'm not okay with this.
Yes. Okay. And there's plenty of things I could list off.
Devin.
Yeah, she does. Devin, please call me, buddy. It's okay. You got to be something exceptional, but don't worry, you are. Anyway. Okay. So yes, there's lots of things they're missing, like, for sure. Okay. But you still, like, you have access to millions and millions, tens of millions of songs, maybe hundreds now. I don't know. Okay. For a comparatively low fee.
A modest sum.
Yeah. Okay. As to where, here's the thing, in the 90s, you know, again, that was the cost of one album. It was the cost of one CD. And so if you wanted to, I don't know, say you followed 5-6 bands, or, well, what, the numbers don't matter. The point being is being into music from 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago, or being into multiple genres of music.
It was an investment.
It was an investment. Yes. It was incredibly expensive, very expensive. And I have to come to terms with, and I have to come to terms with the fact that like I grew up in a time when all of entertainment was basically like on the expensive side. You know, I mean, people forget this, like DVDs when they first came out, or hell, VHS, you could spend $40, $50, $100 depending upon the set. In the 90s, you know, adjust for inflation, folks. Like, this is not cheap. Okay. And so I grew up in a time when, like, you didn't like multiple things. You kind of picked your team. Okay. And I don't mean football team. I mean, like, it was Star Trek versus Star Wars. You didn't choose both. You chose one. Why? You know, and like, I'm still wrestling with this. No pun intended. I'm still wrestling with this because it's like, did I only like one or two things because that's all I could afford? Or was it just intrinsically, I like this thing better, you know, or am I ex post facto justifying it again because it's all I could afford, or, you know, whatever. But it's just so many things were that way. Like, you were not multiple things. You were not a nerd and a jock. You were one or the other. You know, you were not a metalhead as well as listen to country. Like, no, you just didn't. It was too expensive. Like, you couldn't afford that. Okay. And especially if you wanted to get taken seriously by other metalheads, right? Because you had to have like a knowledge of, you know, certain metal bands and whatever. And that generally meant you had to go out and buy a CD, you know. Maybe you watched MTV or something, but by the 90s, like, they were barely playing music videos anyway. So, you know, that's something to consider, is that now, if you want to suddenly start listening to Creed, it doesn't cost you anything, ultimately, right? Like, even if you were listening to rap or whatever horseshit, you know, you were listening to before, there is no cost to you to go back 40, 20, 30, 40, 50 years and listen to music from back then. There's no cost to you to switch genres. And I think this has created a very weird world that even myself, I don't know how to deal with.
Well, I think it's also easier for people to drop in and fall off these bandwagons because there is no investment in the sense that you don't actually own the music.
Right.
You're just streaming it.
Right.
And it's incredibly cheap. It's like a few cents per stream, you know? So you don't have to stick with that investment.
Well, and you're not as deeply connected. That's a great point, because you're not as deeply connected with it because there's no sunk cost, right? Like there's like you say, there's no investment really into it.
Like I remember when, back in the early 2000s or whatever, you would listen to radio and hear great songs. And if you really liked what you heard on the radio, you would go pick up some CDs. And again, they're like somewhere between $10 and $20 per CD, depending on, what you're buying. But yeah, that was the investment. And you had that, your handful of CDs or your booklet of CDs or whatever to choose from and listen to every single day. So if you really liked what you heard, you were going to be listening to it repeatedly. And you were giving the artist directly the money for the music that you were purchasing. Unless you were, like a poor teenager like me who, was on LimeWire and FrostWire.
Hell yes.
Making your own mixtapes.
Right.
But the thing is, like, you had to either spend that time or spend the money to possess the music and to be able to listen to it repeatedly. Whereas now with streaming services, you can listen to it a handful of times and, like, it doesn't cost you that much time or money to go exploring these trends.
Right.
So I think that, like, people don't have that innate desire, that drive that pushes them towards listening to music like this. Yeah, totally. Now, I mean, to be clear, like, this sounds almost positive in that people are allowed to expand, kind of their artistic palette, perhaps. It's
but
a blessing and a curse.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the curse is really Spotify at the same time, because, I mean, this is just a deplorable company, in my opinion, and in the way that it functions. And we don't have to spend a ton of time on that. But basically, you have a company that all they want to do is just be a platform for things they don't have to pay for. So they don't care who makes money or what. All they care about is, do they? Like they're not pro artist in any stretch of the imagination. Whereas to where I would argue there was a time in the entertainment industry where they very much were, like they actually cared about. I mean, not always. Like, for sure, the music industry has always been an ugly industry. Like I'm not gonna, but there were people at certain places within the music industry that actually gave a shit about great music. Anyway, so is butt rock really worth it? Let me ask you that straight up. I mean, as someone who is or was a fan.
I think so.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Give me your best.
Okay, so my best, as far as the butt rock band that I probably listened to the most on repeat and got the most invested in, was... What's that dance?
Let's hear it. I can't wait.
Drum roll, please.
Drum roll.
Disturbed.
Disturbed.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yep.
Oof.
Yeah, The Sickness, that album.
Down with the Sickness.
Well, I mean, when Indestructible came out, that was the next
insane.
one. But yeah, The Sickness, I think that one was on repeat quite a bit in my household.
Yeah.
Yep. And I was really into it. And sometimes I still hear it and I'm like, yes.
Right.
Yeah. I feel those old feelings again,
I was really expecting Breaking Benjamin, but keep going.
Breaking Benjamin, I did listen to that a lot, but that was more like in high school years. So I guess that was more towards like 2010.
Uh-huh.
Well, now that I think about it, maybe like 2008.
Okay.
Yeah, but before that was Disturbed.
Right.
So went Disturbed and then Breaking Benjamin.
Yeah. I really, it took me a while, but I really ended up liking Disturbed. But like now, I mean, and I think you feel the same way. You can correct me though. But like now, I have a hard time listening to them now. And it's not because the music sucks. Mm-hmm. The music's still just as good as it ever was. David Draymond's voice is amazing. Very,
still
very
very
interesting.
Intense
very
and
intense.
Unique.
Yeah. But yeah, when he was signing those bombs, to go to Palestine,
yeah, that was not good.
Yeah, not cool.
I thought he was an anti-war, anti-drug. Like the songs that he was writing, they were dark, but it was kind of telling you like this is the terrible stuff that's going to happen if you follow this path.
Yeah,
Make a better path.
Right.
And
I still say that like the video for Land of Confusion, like that's totally an anti-war video. That's totally like an anti quote unquote New World Order, kind of video.
Yeah. And when the war on Israel started, he chose war. He wanted Israel to kill people.
Yeah, it's bad. It's a really bad.
It's very unfortunate.
Yep. So, Creed doesn't seem to have taken a side here.
No, they've chosen money.
Yeah. Yes, they have. They have chosen money. Apparently, we might get a new album. I don't know. I mean, Tremonti's like, again, he is that great of a writer. So, it might be. Who
Arms
knows?
Wide Open Part 2.
They should do that. Just like how Metallica did like Unforgiven parts 1 through 4.
Wow.
At least 3. I know they did 3 on Death Magnetic. But anyway, so, okay. I don't feel any better about this.
I'm sorry. I did not think my job here was to make you feel better. I thought it was just to like put you into a rage so that you could make, a screed for your listeners.
A screed about Creed.
I did not mean to make that pun. I'm so sorry. We've been watching some really corny early 2000s.
Oh, tell them about it. Tell them about it. Go ahead.
So I asked you recently
Yes.
to download this show from my childhood. It was my favorite show on the animal planet, and it was called The Most Extreme. And if you've ever watched this show, you know how terrible the puns are. And they don't stop. They keep rolling.
Like, this is, I don't know what's beyond dad joke. But it is so far beyond that, and they don't stop. And the damn show, it's from 2002, so it's 45 minutes an episode.
Yeah.
They do it right. And there's many episodes because that baby went 5 seasons. And yeah, it's been interesting.
The theme music, I fucking love it. It's
Oh
incredible.
yeah.
I could bang my head to that all day.
Yeah, and they're using like all like the green like Matrix.
Yeah,
Which whatever, I do the same thing.
Yeah,
but
here in your studio, it's the same color. It's like
Right.
the bright lime green and
Yes.
the 3D animation from like the early 2000s, with like the Matrix background. So, yeah, very
and like
very
X-Files
pretty,
music. It's very
stylish.
style. Yeah. It's a very interesting show, but I do want to I'm going to boast for a minute because
Please do.
you're not going to find this. This isn't on streaming services, folks. This isn't like you've got to be, bottom line, you got to be me. Like you have to be my level of skill to get your hands on this kind of shit. Right.
Yeah.
And,
right.
And I just want a little sympathy for the devil because it's like, oh yeah, you think this guy's great, you think this guy's great, you think this guy's great or whatever. It's like, no. Like any entertainment you want on planet Earth, I can get it to you. Give me, at least 24 hours and I'll have you hooked up no matter what the hell it is.
And you did.
Yeah.
I asked.
All 5 seasons.
You delivered.
I delivered every time. Doesn't matter who the hell even knows that show is. I mean, I remember it too, but like, I got
don't know.
you.
I've never heard anyone talk about it.
Right, exactly.
Like, it's just something that I'll never forget. And,
Yeah.
And, on my nostalgia trip, I wanted to see it again.
Yeah.
And you made that a reality. So
Yeah.
thank you. Even though it is kind of torturous to watch.
It's pretty bad.
It's so bad.
But it's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
But I get a kick out of this. I love doing this shit. I love the rarity of it and finding like these things that just everybody else has forgotten. I thrive in that. And so whenever you have these kinds of requests, like I'm just so jazzed.
Thank you. I'm
to
so
do it.
grateful.
Yeah,
honestly.
thank you.
Because I also enjoy that, watching a show from, 15, 20 years ago that nobody remembers.
Right.
It just makes you feel like, you're kind of the only one.
Exactly. I love that. God, I love that so much. That's why it sucks that everybody's into Creed again. No. No. What sucks about that is that, like, I got ripped on for fucking 20 years, and now suddenly it's okay, you know?
Yeah, I'm sorry. People were, like, giving you wedgies and like...
Oh, it's insane.
Yeah, locking you in closets.
This is why I had to learn Krav Maga. So I can... No.
This is why you went into the military, to bring Creed to other countries.
That's right. I see Iraq needs some freedom. Allow me to bring you Creed.
This is the best we have, folks.
Yeah. In the mountains of Afghanistan. Put on that Nickelback, baby.
Hear it echo through the canyons.
Oh, man. Yeah. All right. So while we're talking about horrible entertainment, even though I do think we had some very interesting commentary tech-wise in relation to the effect, well, really the economic and mental effect of, you know, how much can you afford to be into as compared to today? You know what I mean? Like with the Spotify thing. But anyway, now I still also buy discs. I still also, you know, I buy movies.
You do. You have a huge Blu-ray collection.
I have a huge, yeah. And,
in fact, if the listeners could see behind me, we've built an entire loft that houses all of the cases of your Blu-ray collection.
Yes. And it's actually bowing. Like,
yeah, we put an extra support in so it won't
We did
collapse,
just add one.
But
yes.
Yeah, it's quite heavy. It's very sizable.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. So anyway, and you know, but rarely do I buy movies sight unseen. Like usually it's a safe bet. Like it's something that I've seen. Now, unfortunately for my, you know, wallet, what haven't I seen?
Well, I asked for a movie recently that you didn't know existed.
Which one was that?
The fracking movie with Matt Damon.
Promised Land with Matt Damon. Yes.
So
well,
sometimes that happens.
Yeah, but
it's pretty rare.
Yeah. I mean, the nice thing with that, though, also, like, part of what makes me able to, I mean, okay, folks, understand, I don't spend that much money. I don't have it. Okay, you know, like, this is stuff I've been collecting for a very long time. But the benefit is that, like, right now, physical discs have basically fallen out of favor. So, you know, a movie like Promised Land, $3.99.
Yeah, exactly. They're so
it costs
cheap
nothing.
right now.
Yeah. Most of these discs cost nothing. You know, like it.
Yeah, I think you buy the majority of your DVDs and Blu-rays for like $5 a piece.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and I even go to Dollar Tree. You know, like
it's so strange that they have DVDs there
and
sale.
Blu-rays. Crazy.
And like ones that you could actually watch. It's not like the dollar store like romance novels that nobody reads.
It's not like a bunch of movies out of Bangladesh.
Good movies.
Right. Nothing against movies in Bangladesh, by the way. Thank you. So, but yeah, so rarely do I buy one sight unseen, but I was actually pretty confident, and just based upon like the trailer I had seen and everything I was kind of hearing about it, is the movie Nosferatu by Robert Eggers that came out last year in 2024 at the end of the year. And I was like, okay, well, it's a vampire movie. Also, I love vampire films. I have a very large collection of vampire movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've seen hundreds of vampire movies at this point.
Yes, exactly. So it's kind of like, okay, well, I'm sure it'll be worth it. You know, like even if it's not like super great, I'm sure that it'll be worth it to have it on disc. And also, it was. I mean, I think they did make the extended cut available other ways, but. Regardless, like on disc at the time anyway, when they announced it and I pre-ordered it, which was months ago, they said, yeah, this will have the extended cut. And I'm like, okay, so maybe this is the best way to see the film anyway. And so whatever, I'll get my hands on the disc. That's fine. Again, we never went to theaters to go see this. I didn't download it, nothing like that. I'm like, no, we'll watch it on disc. We'll do it right. And there are actually, up until this point, this is a pretty big deal. Up until this point, I have never bought a disc where I said, yeah, I'm going to return that. Like, that was so bad, I don't want it, you know?
But that's how you feel about this one?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to, because it's kind of a waste, and, you know, like if I'm going to return something, I want some bigger monetary value in the matter. But this is the first movie where I said, you know what? Yeah, this is terrible, and I want to return the disc. Now, hold on.
If it was me, just on principle, I think I would have returned it already.
Really?
Yeah.
Why do you say that?
Oh, you know me. I'm one of those people that will just fight against anything that I really dislike on principle.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
the processing fees from Easy Pass.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, I know. Oh, the legend that you are with that.
It's it's $1 per violation, but I am not going to pay that.
No, you make it expensive for the state. I love it.
That's right. I make it as difficult as possible for
Yes.
them to get any money out of me.
Pure spite.
That's
I mean,
all
folks,
it takes.
if you could just watch like her hands moving as she's writing these letters to the state.
The click-clack from my keyboard
Yeah,
is
that-
as loud as it's ever been.
Oh, I mean, you can just hear the hatred and the vengeance
Thank
for
you.
the system when you do it. It's really amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. So you would have returned it. I get that. Now, I mean, I do want to say, okay, I kind of cart before the horse here because I said the movie's terrible. All right. I do want to get some positives out of the way quick.
Let's hear it.
First off, all right, it was an incredibly bold decision to have Lily Rose Depp, to have her play a male part as Nosferatu. Like, I thought that was, I mean, ugly as sin, but Nosferatu, but I that was bold to do that. And to have Bill Skarsgård play Ellen, the character of Ellen. Like, I again, credit where it's due.
You know, it's amazing. I think she said that she just stopped shaving for a week, and that mustache grew. It's just 1 week of facial hair, folks.
Wow, you went there. All right, so,
You started.
I started it. I know.
Oh God, I think I'm actually crying.
All right, so I think I might have got them confused, but I couldn't tell. Like I think Lily Rose Depp actually played the character of Ellen, and Bill Skarsgård was Nosferatu. I'm looking at the Wikipedia page. I got it wrong. I had no idea. I could have sworn that was Lily Rose Depp as Nosferatu. That's so bad. Okay, so yeah, that's it. I don't. Okay, it's a good looking movie overall.
Yeah, do you have more positives? More nice things you want to say?
I'm trying. Like, there are a couple good lines. There are a couple of very good lines.
Stylish film.
It's very stylish. Yes. Yep. Very stylish. And it looked good. Maybe that's why I didn't return the disc, because okay, no, this was a very solid, like visually it was a presentation. There weren't any, I don't think there are any effect shots that looked that bad, or anything like that. This is very, again, it's very much a style film for sure. And they're trying to mimic, of course, the source material from 1922, source material in the sense of film.
What about the other source material?
Oh, well, I mean, they straight copied Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula from the 90s. I mean, they straight lifted. I mean, it was
they
almost
turned this into a Dracula movie.
Yeah, I don't know how they got away with it. I mean, I don't believe in IP, but this straight up plagiarism. That was so bad. Again, a couple great lines. Just finishing off the positives.
Yeah. Do you want to say what lines are sticking with you?
Yeah, Willem Dafoe's line about, I've seen things that would cause Isaac Newton to run back into his mother's womb. That was good. That was funny.
That was great, because he was digging at science. He was like,
Yes.
look, science does not encapsulate the entirety of reality.
Yeah, great messaging on that point. Willem Dafoe was amazing. So that's another positive.
He was the best actor.
Yeah,
in
he
the
was
whole
so
movie.
good.
Yeah, incredible.
I mean, I feel like he was also very much channeling an even better actor in Anthony Hopkins' role, in Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula as Van Helsing. I think he was really channeling that energy. And I'm not saying he did a bad job. I'm just saying it's another part of that plagiarism. But that line worked. He might have had another line. Oh, the one with the cat, where he was asking Ellen if is this your cat? And she says it has no master or mistress. And he just says, quite so. Like that was well done.
And there was the line from Nosferatu.
Yes, that was the other, where he says that like love is inferior to you, when he was talking about Ellen, and I was like, yeah, that's true about my Ellen as well. Thank
you.
Yeah, I like that. That was such a powerful line, such a great line. That's another part of what makes this all very disappointing, though, is there is a lot of occult truth, I feel like, in the movie, but that is twisted and, dare I say, perverted into where, it gets presented in a convoluted way that like the, shall we say, for lack of a better term, the uninitiated don't get to walk away with anything.
So you read a lot of reviews about this movie.
I did.
You watched it.
Yes.
And you said that none of them really covered the occult aspects. So do
None.
you want to
Zero.
talk about it? Do you want to tell us what you saw in this movie that was occult imagery or occult messaging?
I mean, yeah, so some of the messaging that is like true, and I don't want to get lost on a huge side subject here. Okay. But this is a minor, it's actually not that minor. This is a minor revelation I've had, lately, is there are some commentators. That's actually disrespectful. There are some scholars, teachers, and even rabbi who have tremendous truths that they espouse in the world today, that I am very grateful, even if I disagree with them a lot of times, that I'm very grateful that they're out there saying these things. But a lot of times they say things without any evidence, and or at least without justification. Evidence is a very squishy thing, as this movie was highlighting through, Willem Dafoe's character. But there's the claim that the goddess, and when we say goddess, we don't mean like an actual like being necessarily. We mean more like the force of creation. Okay. That the goddess speaks through art, and it just does that. Now, I've been racking my brain for a very long time. I understand the point and I don't disagree, but I've been racking my brain for a very long time. I'm like, wait a minute. How exactly do you prove that? Like, what is your justification for that kind of statement? And I think I finally came on one actually a few days ago. And the justification comes down to Nietzsche, where Nietzsche said that there is more philosophy in your body than in, all the books ever written. And I think that's it, is that your body just knows the truth. It's just, do you listen to it or don't you? And when you're in the creative zone, making a movie, music, a podcast, a book, whatever you're doing, okay, when you're in like the creative zone, you actually are, I think you're getting in touch with the philosophy that your body knows that comes out of the book of nature. Okay. And so I think that there are points where, yes, like even in horrible films like this one, powerful truths can be put on display, even if unconsciously, by the writer director, okay, or the actor or whatever. And so that, I think, is the justification for that statement. And I think it's a very correct one, that the creation speaks through art, or the universe, if you want to use that. The universe, capital U, speaks through art. Okay. So do you have any comments on that?
No, please continue.
Okay. So, some of the truths that I think get laid out in this, I mean, it's absolutely a cult, like 7-pointed stars. Cats actually play a very, very, believe it or like they're in the background, but it's actually a very prominent role, I feel, in this movie. And look, cats are semi-divine beings. Like, they are protectors. So for like a cat to constantly be around like the character of Ellen in this movie, and
also in Willem Dafoe's study.
Yes, he has them there as well. He knows, like, they are protecting me from all kinds of shit. All kinds of, shall we say, demonic, not that demonic is necessarily evil, but all kinds of demonic forces, all kinds of negative forces, if we want to put it that way. And it's not uninteresting that her cat, like, isn't there whenever Nosferatu shows up, like even in her dreams. Anyway, so there's that. That's like one thing, but that's kind of commonly known in, not just in the occult, but like in Japanese history, I mean, even today you go to Egypt and like at Dendera, like there's cats that protect the temple, like, and people talk about it that way. So anyway, there's that. But as far as truths, there is this, like his comment, the great line that love is inferior to her. And they're like constantly talking about how she is this being of like desire. You know, it's why Nosferatu wants her. There's the point where Willem Dafoe says you would have been a goddess of Isis, or you would have been a priestess to Isis.
She has very strong animal nature.
Yeah, exactly. Like that she can see the spiritual realm because she is so, for lack of a better term, so lustful, right? Like she has, like you say, this strong animal nature. She's so in touch with that part of her. And I mean, you're seeing her orgasm all the time when she's in connection with the spiritual realm. I mean, she's moaning.
It's not an orgasm. It actually sounds kind of painful, and it also looks somewhat like an epileptic fit.
Well, yes, there's that, yes.
But I suppose you could, in some way, kind of relate it to that. But it definitely does not look like an orgasm to me.
I think there's points where it's meant to be kind of ambiguous. But like there's times...
mean, it's got a bit of a sexual nature, I suppose. But yeah, definitely not just an orgasm. Like there's some strange epileptic behaviors going on.
Yeah, but there are multiple, quotes within the film where they're directly addressing this carnal nature that she is very much in touch with. Okay, well, you're hitting at it. I mean, this is stuff that we talked about last time you and I recorded. Like she's in connection with the erotic, with Eros, with this universal force. And there is a power in that. Like that's why Willem Dafoe says, like, you would have been a priestess to Isis because you're so powerful. You're this, like, he says, I'm just a tourist in this world of the occult, but you were born into it. You live it, And so like that idea that actually getting in touch with the occult, getting in touch with the spiritual part of the universe isn't about being a higher self, but actually a lower, baser self. Bingo. Like spot on. This is why Kabbalah, you don't ascend in Kabbalah, you descend. And you come around full circle, right? You're like, oh, I'm just an animal. And then it's, oh, I'm higher than that. I'm a rational being. I'm blah, blah, blah. But then as you keep climbing that ladder of rationalism, suddenly you realize, actually, I'm just an animal. But now you can understand that. Like you're enlightened. You're enlightened. The left hemisphere of your brain has a rationalization, a justification for why I'm just an animal and why that is my actual state. And now you can act within the other hemisphere of your brain and actually have power within that realization. Okay. So that's the thing. It's like, yeah, you're just an animal, but if you don't understand what that actually means, it means nothing.
It gives you a feeling of meaning and importance, which is lacking in people who don't have that enlightenment.
Right. And it gives you like a connection with the universe, your part in it, And so this idea of like falling into your baser animalistic self, yeah, like that's true enlightenment, and getting past words. I mean, like I even think of, how Socrates was terrified about writing books, terrified. He's like, no. If we just start writing everything down, we're going to forget everything. We're going to lose a connection with the divine. That's exactly what Socrates felt. And I think he has a point, but that's a much larger subject and certainly not the purview. This movie isn't that smart. Like it had some nice things to say, maybe, but like this movie isn't that brilliant. Quite the opposite. So there were that occult aspects. The 7-pointed star, I mean, that has to do with, that's Babylonian, and that has to do with like resurrecting and immortality and other things. Also, like the 7-pointed star represents a specific spirot, like within the tree of life. And
it appeared on Nosferatu's coffin.
Yep, it was in his seal that he used when he was signing things, and it was in his coffin. And I mean, I didn't even get into how Thomas, Ellen's husband, so Ellen is the desire of, like, Nosferatu wants Ellen. That's supposedly what this whole movie's about. Okay.
She's so let's just start from the beginning. She's the one that woke him up. In the beginning of the movie, she was praying for some sort of angel or being or whatever to
Right.
provide her some sense of comfort
Yes.
and, be there with her so she didn't feel alone.
Yeah.
And the being that she drew to her was Nosferatu.
Right.
And at the time, she pledged herself to him, but she needed to repledge herself willingly, renew her vow, essentially, when he decided he wanted to move, to the town of, what was it, Visburg in Germany, where they lived.
Which they got, that was kind of dumb too. That, like, the movie takes place in 1838. There was no Germany in 1838. But regardless, okay. The general locality that would eventually be Germany, I guess, is what they were trying to say. But okay. Yeah. So yes, good point.
So he is coming to her because she has this
Right.
power, this blood that he cannot resist.
Right. Now, so she's married, though, when the time comes for him to be with her, for Nosferatu to be with her.
She's married, not dead.
Well, yes, right. But but this is where things get weird, is they're signing like a contract because supposedly, I mean, that's why her husband goes out there.
To Transylvania.
Yeah, right. To sign this deal, this land deal, so that Nosferatu can live in Vicksburg, in Germany, whatever. Okay.
But it's written in an ancient language that he can't read.
Right.
So he doesn't realize that when he signs it, he dissolves his marriage.
Yes, he's actually signing. He's basically signing over his. Yeah, he's like divorce. It's like a divorce paper. And of course, Nosferatu gives him like a satchel of gold for it as an exchange. Now, I mean, I think it's a little even deeper going on there. She is basically being signed away as property because she is part of a contract. Now, this is where things get kind of twisted, and I wouldn't say that that's like the truth of the universe, but it is, there's certainly some aspects of the occult, that would play into that, and people that believe that sort of thing, which screw them. So, yeah, so those are just some of the occult kind of leanings, within this. But I mean, sex is the name of the game in this movie. And, in fact, it gets very weird. Like, there's necrophilia.
Yeah.
I mean,
that was disturbing.
Right. And that, again, we could kind of get into the occult aspects of that. There is nothing within, certainly my lineage and tradition that I, belong to, that talks about sleeping with dead people for some kind of power. But I know there are occult schools out there that would lean in that direction.
But it's interesting in the movie that the man who slept with his dead wife, he ended up dying just after that happened.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I thought it was just a dumbass thing to include. Like there was no, it's not shocking anymore. Like, I don't think that kind of thing would shock anymore. Now it's just like in there to show like, no, you're just a fucked up individual, whoever the fuck is making this. Well, I know who's making the movie, but
yeah, I'm not sure why they included that. It was an interesting choice, and I guess interesting's a nice way of putting it. But
yeah,
I think for the character who, committed the necrophilia, he had kind of lost his mind. Like his wife and his children were killed, and he was kind of fighting the conclusion that Willem Dafoe's character was stating, which was that, this is some sort of demon, this vampire that was bringing the plague. It's not actually like rats spreading the plague. It's this Nosferatu character who's spreading the plague in order to like basically get closer to Ellen. And the man who commits necrophilia, like, he just wouldn't believe it. He didn't believe it at all until his entire family was killed. And then he snaps. Basically, he goes crazy. Yeah. But this speaks to, and I mean, I want to hear if you any positives that I didn't bring up that you felt were there. But this brings up one of the big problems is like the characterization is just all over the place in this. Like, I mean, it's not good. I mean, like the writing overall is just not good. And like the character you're just talking about,
was frankly downright annoying, and not like in a, okay, he's meant to be the annoying foil or something like that. It was just badly written. Like,
yeah, most of the characters were, and they were also badly acted.
Oh, yeah, minus Willem Dafoe, this cast is a mess. Like, horrible fucking casting.
Yeah,
not saying something, but go ahead.
The lines were not spoken with what I felt was genuine feeling or connection to the story being told.
I don't think the actors knew what the words meant. Like, I think they literally did not know what those words meant. Like, it was... Yeah, I mean, because they're like, whoop, just hit a lightsaber. Anyway, because they're, I don't know, Gen Z or millennial chits, you know, that just have no actual, it's like high schoolers reading Shakespeare, you know, like they don't get it. And not that I think you have to get Shakespeare. That's a whole other conversation, but that didn't work.
Some high schoolers do get Shakespeare.
No, you're right. Some do. Satan bless them. Okay. But keep going, please.
Yeah, I felt that the acting was not as passionate nor as genuine as it could have been. And yeah, there were some characters that I felt didn't have much of a character to them.
Right.
And it was kind of unfair because they're like Ellen's best friend. She could have been a much more lovable character.
Right.
And she was supposed to be in the movie. She was very kind. She was the one that was caring for Ellen when she was fallen ill, going through all of these epileptic fits every single night. And she really wanted to be there to support her, no matter how difficult things got, which is beautiful. But her character just felt like one-dimensional.
Yeah, and so, you know, when she's dead and getting fucked by her husband, I don't feel anything. Like,
except maybe, you know, like disgust about the necrophilia part
of course
of it.
I feel that, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, again, just to bring up the meaninglessness of that scene overall. But yeah, I mean, but were there positives? Did you, other than what I mentioned, can you think of other positives to the film?
The scene when Nosferatu was drinking the blood of their children.
Oh yeah, that was good. Yeah, all right. Yeah, I mean, he just
I'm sorry, that was just, it was a very interesting scene. He picked up those kids and tossed them like rag dolls.
Yeah, just like bit their necks open. I mean, ripped them and just tossed them aside. Yeah, that was good. You're right. I like that scene.
I liked that the way the movie was filmed was like slow. It took its time. And it wasn't too slow. The pacing was good, I guess is what I'm trying to say. The pacing was good.
You thought the pacing was good? Okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I thought so. Though I would say the second half of the movie was better than the first half.
Okay.
Like the first half could have been a little bit shorter, I suppose, but it had to be there. It was part of telling the story. I guess it just wasn't as interesting as the Dracula movie that it was trying to imitate.
Yeah, which of course is, again, Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't feel that they were nearly as much playing with the source material of, which we've both watched. We've watched Nosferatu, the 1922 version of that. And I mean, I've seen it multiple times, and yeah, they did the hand thing over the city, you know, whatever. Okay. But by and large, yeah, they were playing way more off of, you know, what Coppola did in the 90s. I agree with you on that.
Yeah. And I think that they didn't make a very scary movie, but they made a gory movie. There's scenes where it's quite bloody, and yeah, it's kind of disgusting. So it does have the gore factor.
Yeah, isn't that a fail for like a movie like this to not be actually scary? Because I agree, it wasn't scary. You know, like when the kids get ripped to shreds, like in fact, the kids might be the best characterization in the film because they were so fucking annoying that like when they
were very cute, but
no, they were annoying when they get
annoying.
When they get slaughtered. I'm like, oh, whew, okay. Wait. Am I supposed to say that? I might edit that later. Okay. Keep going. But yeah, the movie wasn't scary, would you say?
No, I didn't feel like it was eerie or scary. Right. It was mostly just kind of gory.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wish that it was scarier. Mm-hmm. But it didn't do it for me. And maybe that's just because I'm deadened to scary movies because I've seen too many.
Right.
Who knows?
Right.
Like, maybe some people saw this and they were genuinely terrified, but not me.
Yeah.
I saw this and it just made me, like, not want to be bitten and have my blood drank by a vampire.
Yeah, but just because it's gross, not because it's, like, scary. Yeah.
And it looked really painful, too. Like, they showed in graphic detail what it was like to be bitten by Nosferatu.
Yep.
Which he's not biting on the neck, he bites on the heart.
Yeah.
And he actually, like, punctures into that area with his teeth and, like, really drinks. And when he's drinking, his whole body is undulating. Like, he's gulping it down.
Yeah. Well, that's another part of this that feels so off, is because, like, it's so clearly all about sex, but then it's the most unsexy fucking thing ever. You know, like...
You mean like when Ellen is having her epileptic fits and her body is writhing around in bed and it's supposed to be sexual?
Yeah. But I mean, even... that whole scene's so weird, where Thomas just suddenly takes her, you know, and just has sex with her. And...
Oh, yeah. So after she stays with her friends for a while Thomas is out, you know, in Transylvania.
Yeah.
He returns. He was supposed to die. I mean, anybody who's seen the movie knows.
Yeah.
But he survived somehow, and he comes back, and Ellen is, like, yelling at him. She's mad because he signed that contract for, like, a handful of gold, and now he knows that Nosferatu is real, and she's telling him, like, I've been telling you this since the beginning. All of my nightmares, these are real. He's with me all the time. Why didn't you believe me? And she's, like, mad, and she starts having the epileptic fit. And then when she calms down, he just has sex with her.
Yeah, I mean, I think she asked for it, but it's just...
Sort of, yeah. Like,
it's just all strange.
She wants Nosferatu to see how much she loves her husband.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And it's just so, it's so poorly acted, and it just comes out of nowhere, and it just
strange.
doesn't feel, none of it feels natural.
Yeah.
And I mean natural in the sense of natural progression. Like it just doesn't, it's just not there.
No, just like the ending to this movie, I felt was very strange.
Yeah. I mean, well, think about this. So Nosferatu says, you come to me in 3 nights, and until you do, I'm going to kill all your friends and family. Mm-hmm. So you can do it any time in these 3 nights. But by the 3rd night...
This carnage anytime.
Right. And she does eventually, I mean, spoiler alerts, folks, but believe me, we're not ruining anything. This movie ruined itself. She does end up giving Nosferatu what she wants, so that she can trap him in the sunlight, or at least keep him from going back to his coffin when he needs to. Okay, and so he dies. If that was the fucking plan, why didn't you do that night 1? And keep everybody else from fucking dying? Like, that was so dumb and so twisted even.
Yeah, and Willem Dafoe's character is, like, reading this ancient text saying the way that we're going to save everyone is by getting her to fulfill the covenant,
right,
giving herself to Nosferatu.
Right.
And it seems like fulfilling the covenant is, like, her having sex with him, getting married to him, living in eternity as a vampire with him. Who knows? But, like... Well,
yeah, who knows? We don't know what the result would be.
All that happened was she just distracted him for long enough that he was in the sunlight when the sun rose.
Yeah. But again, she could have stopped so much shit. No plague. She could have stopped so much shit from happening. And she doesn't. And horrible writing. Like, just thoughtless. This isn't like... I get annoyed when some people, you know, kind of critique things too hard, and you can tell where, okay, when something isn't logical in the movie, it's probably because they kind of did a different timing of the editing of scenes from the original chronology that they were filmed or something like that. And I can excuse that. I can let that pass. But this is just lazy writing, and this is just like boring writing in the sense that, but that's the other part too. Like, there's no stakes. And I don't mean one's like getting jammed into a vampire's heart. I mean, there's no stakes in the sense that, like, well, so what happens if she does give in to him, into Nosferatu? Like,
well, apparently she died. She sacrificed herself.
She did die. Is that it? And it's, but like, so what? You know, like, it's 19th century Europe. I don't know. Like, it just, not that I wanted like earth-ending stakes or anything like that, you know, but I had really no idea the whole movie of, okay, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah, I really thought that there was going to be something bigger that happened.
Yeah.
Like, okay, if she's this priestess of Isis who's like really in touch with the spiritual realm, can she like free Nosferatu from his curse so that he can actually die?
Right.
Or go to sleep, you know? Like, are they going to be together in this eternal vampire covenant where, like, okay, now that the contract is fulfilled, they can go to sleep for the next 1,000 years or whatever?
Yeah.
And then it's tomorrow's problem and everyone can live peacefully now?
Right.
But, like, none of that was the case. It was just they both ended up dying.
Yeah. It's a horrible movie. I mean, music sucked. Like, just not good. And I walk away from it just thinking like, wow, this is why Hollywood is fucked. You know, like, all the acting's bad except for Willem Dafoe, but you know, he's from another generation, so I'm not surprised. But this next generation of actors, holy shit. Like, what a waste. I don't know, what do you got? I mean,
yeah, I'd give it like a, I don't know, 6 out of 10, maybe 5.
Yeah, I'd have to go 5. I mean, the visuals are nice, couple good lines, couple good points made, maybe, but that's not enough, you know, for it to be like a great movie, or, you know, for it to be like, I'll never watch this again, you know.
Yeah, I would say, like, okay, watching it once, it was entertainment for the 2 hours that we watched it.
Yeah.
And again, style, there's a couple good lines. But yeah, it was just a gory movie, and I guess there's something to be said for that, because like gore is a genre for a reason.
Sure.
You know.
Sure.
But yeah, it wasn't like a scary vampire movie.
Right. Right. And it wasn't, you know, like,
it wasn't exceptional either.
No, and it could have been impressive just as a style piece, but it didn't really have that either. Like, it didn't have kind of the ironic stylings of, say, like Tim Burton or something, which I can only imagine what he would do with a piece like this.
Are you talking about the mustache?
Well, there is the porn stash, but I'm just saying, like the kind of the Gothic style, like, it fails on that. It doesn't come off like Gothic enough. Like, you should have turned the Gothicness up to like 13, 14, you know, and at least then it could be like a very pretty film. You know what I mean? Like, again, it could be a style piece, but instead it just comes off bland. Like, it's just drab, you know, and it's as lifeless as Nosferatu. Like, I'm amazed at how bad this was, you know, and again, like you said earlier, I mean, we've seen hundreds of vampire films. I can't think of one that even the worst vampire films I can think of have more redeeming qualities than this one does. This is terrible.
You mean like Blade? Like the Blade movies?
Oh, that's not it. Those aren't terrible movies. Those movies are amazing.
Depends on who you ask, I guess.
No, those movies are amazing. That's not a debate. No, well, I mean, like Dracula 2000, like that whole trilogy, like some of these things like have some form of redeeming quality, you know, as to where like even those will have like a style that is fun and that is worthwhile, you know, or even, I mean, Christopher Lee made so many fucking vampire films, but even those have like epic acting that even if the script isn't that grand or something like that, like the acting is like, there's just so much panache on the screen that you ride with it, you know, and you're like, okay, no, this is great.
It's the panache, yeah.
Yes, the panache, even that, and sometimes that's all you need. But this doesn't even have that. You know, like there's nothing redeeming about this. I again, other than, yeah, okay, there's a couple lines well said, but that doesn't justify 2 hours, 15 minutes. I don't even want to know what it was like when it wasn't an extended cut. You know, I'm baffled. Yeah, I have to go 5 out of 10. I mean, and that's high. I just, bad movie.
Is it bad? Do you really think it's like bad? Like not worth your time to watch at all?
Oh boy. You know what value I did get out of it was like, there's actors that I had no idea existed. And like, I feel like I now know, okay, don't bother with them. You know, like don't watch their crap. I mean, the sad part is it like here I was trying to kind of open myself up to a new film, you know, with new people, with, you know, new young talent. And, like, I mean, I was an open book on this, you know, if it was good, that's fine. It's not just because it's new. Like, that's not what makes it bad. I was really like ready to be blown away, and it just didn't happen. So in a way, like the value of it, it sadly kind of justifies my because I can recognize I do have like a default. I don't want to call it a prejudice, but a default against newer films, you know, where I automatically think, yeah, this probably isn't going to be good. But that hasn't always been true. There's been new films where I was like, holy shit, that was awesome. But this sadly just adds to my default of new Hollywood sucks, you know.
Like a vampire.
Woo, yeah. Yeah.
Like Nosferatu.
Yeah. Do you feel that
Gulping
badly
it
about
down.
it? Do you feel that strongly about it?
No, I don't.
You thought it had value.
That's why I'm saying a 5 or a 6. Like I'm kind of neutral about this movie because it has some good qualities, but then like it also just doesn't have really many great qualities.
No.
Like there's some things that I think detracted from the movie overall.
Yeah.
Like the bad acting. But again, like the gore, I guess that counts as like kind of a good thing because at least it's giving you some sort of emotional reaction, which is what art is intended to do, even if it is discussed.
Right.
And yeah, the style was good. And Willem Dafoe, like he's great.
Yeah, Willem Dafoe was
great.
fine. Yeah.
So he was like the main redeeming character, I would say.
Okay.
And the cats.
The cats?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was nice. Yeah, the
she
cats
has
were
no
nice.
master nor mistresses.
Yeah, that was funny. That
It's true. I mean,
I agree.
Cats are divine. They own themselves.
Yes. Yeah. So, yeah.
So I'm not going to say it was a terrible movie. I just don't think it was a good movie either.
Yeah. And you know, again, I just want to be super clear. Now, the reason I went and read other reviews is I was like, okay, maybe I missed something. You know, like, and that happens. There's been times where somebody has told me something about a movie and I go, oh, and then I go back and watch it and like, oh, that was good, you know? And that's why I do my due diligence. Again, I didn't want to just toss this movie away because it was new or anything like that. You know, like I tried, like, no, explain to me, why do you think this is amazing? And everything I read by people who were positive about it, I'm like, did we watch the same movie? I don't think so. So, you know, and then like, and it's so bad because the people who spoke positively of it, they're all just like, oh, you think vampire movies need to be X, Y, Z. It's like, no, I don't think that way at all. I don't care what the hell it is. Just make it good, you know, and just have talent on display. And there wasn't any or barely any. So anyway, I tried and it wasn't there. Not when, I mean, look, speaking of vampire stuff, not when, I mean, we just got done watching Castlevania Season 2. You know.
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
Like, you want to talk about night and day? I mean, holy hell.
That was a pretty great series.
Yeah. Like,
to be fair, it was animated, so not realistic in any way.
No, but that's okay.
But it was very good, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's insane to see the level of difference of, this vampire content. Like Castlevania and Nosferatu. I mean, like, yeah,
the characters in Castlevania have personalities.
Oh. Say it ain't so. Also, I think even gorier than Nosferatu.
Definitely.
Albeit animated,
Rivers of blood, yes.
Yeah.
And Dracula is truly a thing of terror.
Yes, totally.
Like, you get the sense he has unlimited power.
Right. The fight scenes, holy shit.
The fight scenes are amazing.
Yes.
Again, animated, but still.
Yep.
The choreography that they included, like, somebody really thought about that.
Yeah. Do you think Castlevania was sexy in any way?
Not terribly so, no.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that, like, there might have been a hint here and there, but, like, it was certainly not the intention. Not that I'm picking up any.
Yeah, but it's not, like, sexy. Like, it wasn't made to be sexy.
No, but it's definitely stylish.
Yeah. So, part of the reason I asked this is I'm just going to make the point. Now, I've claimed that Castlevania, when it was in its run, was the best show on television. It's that good. So, my point is, because you're right, it's not sexy. Not really, okay?
Yeah, but it's sexy in that it's, like, really cool.
Yeah, it's
in
cool.
That sense,
yeah, sure.
It's a sexy show.
Right. But it's not like this sex-filled show. It's and this is my point.
It's not like other anime where like all the women have like unrealistically huge breasts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, sorry, I got lost there for a second.
In my eyes, right?
Yeah, I was looking at your eyes. Yes. Sorry. Look, you said it. What am I supposed to do? Jesus. Okay. But this is my point, is it's not like I didn't like Nosferatu because it wasn't sexy. Because, yes, a lot of vampire material, media is very sexy. I mean, you think like, Frank Langella, in Dracula in 79. Like, it's very sexy. Okay. And do I like that? Sure. Yes, I do. But it's not a requirement for something to be like a great vampire story for it to be sexy. Castlevania proves the point. Because that's fucking amazing, and it's not there, so that's not my problem with Nosferatu. So fuck anyone that says it's like, oh, Brian's just pissed because there wasn't any actual sex in it, or it wasn't a sexy thing. No, that's not my complaint.
Yeah, but we're kind of saying this movie was meant to be very sex focused.
Yes.
Like the desire between Nosferatu and Ellen, that was very much sex driven.
Yes. Openly stated.
Metaphorically supposed to be that, even though for Nosferatu is literally a thirst for blood, but
so it seemed.
Yeah. You kind of get the impression that they're also having sexual intercourse,
right?
Whether it just be like in her dreams or whatever, but
right?
You don't see it on screen.
Yeah. So, folks, you can get it in the comments on YouTube or on Spotify and tell me where I'm completely wrong or where we're completely wrong about Nosferatu. And it was actually this brilliant, just this masterpiece by Robert Eggers. Let me know what the fuck I missed.
Yeah, I do. I'm genuinely curious to hear what people love about that movie.
Yeah, because I don't get it, like, at all. And I can be very generous with films. I mean, for crying out loud, I was just talking about Megaforce. That's one of the best movies ever made. Like,
yeah, that's a good point.
Like, how bad does it have to be for me to hate it? Shit. Anyway.
Give us new eyes to appreciate this movie.
Yes, give us new eyes. I like that. Okay, do you want to wrap this one up?
Let's do it.
Okay, so there you go. Creed is fucking awesome. Nosferatu is fucking shit.
Well,
I'm not even doing out of 10s. There's just like awesome and shit. And this is...
This is what we've come to.
This is it. It's black and white now, folks.
This is your world, Brian.
Yeah. It's not black and white. It's right and wrong. No. Just
Rivers of blood. Yeah. That's all you get from now on.
That's right. I'm gonna cough up a lung here. Anyway, okay. Ellen, thank you so much for being on as usual.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, I will. I love having you.
Let's do this again soon.
All the time. Yes.
And you do have me.
All the time. And I think we might even need to get to that.
And I have you.
Anytime. I rise to all occasions. So,
So true.
even when I'm not, wow! Even when I'm not feeling 100%, baby, I rise. All right, so we will see all of you, on the other side.